Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll hear inspirational stories of heart-centered leaders who have awakened to their higher purpose and taken that leap of faith to follow their heart and make an impact in the world. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with your host, Jennifer Spohr.
Super excited to welcome as a guest to the show today, Carrie Bohlig. Carrie and her husband, Craig, are co-founders of several companies, including Tandem Consulting and Tandem Giving, Inc. Their businesses, which initially started as side hustles, have allowed them to step away from their full-time corporate careers and instead realize their lifelong dream of becoming full-time parents and part-time entrepreneurs. What started out as slow and tentative crawl into the adventurous world of entrepreneurship now enables them to run their educational company and speak to tens of thousands of people annually through keynotes in the US, Caribbean, Australian, and European markets. In their addresses, Craig and Carrie focus on enhancing communication skills, personal financial management, developing a foundational mindset to effectively scale a business, and most importantly, creating a great life. Their lifestyle has enabled them to focus on what really matters to them: family, adventure, and impact. They are passionate about using their coaching and consulting to pay it forward to others at the onset of their entrepreneurial journey. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate the introduction.
Yes, I'm excited to have you with us. So tell us, what inspired you to do the work that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, it's fun to really reflect back on the genesis and the roots of it all. I was 22 when I launched my businesses, and I was really at that cusp of wrapping up college. I studied liberal studies and was thinking about going into the real world and what that was going to look like. And even my roommates that got jobs out of college were still struggling financially. So I think I just had a good awakening around that time. And it just made me realize that in this day and age, only having one way to make money was just really risky. And so it was a leap for me because I didn't have any business experience, had never really thought about running a business, but I knew that I had to do something else outside of just my 9-to-5 because the vision was really big and the dream was really big, to not have to really confine myself to the means of my teaching career, which is what I went into. So really it was just the fact that I wanted to do a lot in the world. And I knew that despite enjoying a teaching career, it wasn't really going to provide all the means to be able to travel, throughout the year and do major keynotes and impact people more on a larger scale. And so it was the initial drive to just be able to figure out a medium that could help me actually get there more in the midterm or long term.
So there are a lot of paths that you can choose in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. What inspired you to choose the path that you've gone down?
Yeah. So like I said, I wasn't an extreme entrepreneur in any capacity. There's people that they want to build a startup from the ground up with their bare hands, live in their parents' basement and eat granola bars while they do it, right? Bootstrap their way. And that just wasn't me. I was not that hardcore at the time. I would call myself more of a moderate entrepreneur, meaning I didn't want to work till I was 65, but I wasn't super extreme either. So I wanted to find coaches that could really help me take more of an intermediate approach where I could leverage more systems. So existing systems, you could think of franchising or building an agency just as examples, but something that I could really do more part-time and progressively, incrementally build outside of my 9-to-5. So we're huge proponents of incremental growth. Nothing we've done has been overnight or light speed. It's just been doing consistent work, a few hours a day consistently for long enough. And that's actually what helped us build out a number of different income streams. And over time, in my mid-20s, was actually able to replace my teaching income altogether. So at that point, I was able to really pivot and say, hey, I'd way rather be my own boss and really chase my own pursuits full time and really take some of that extra time and invest it into other people who are in a similar position to me, have a big dream, good work ethics, but just don't have the right support and medium to actually do it.
I love that you're sharing, how you transitioned into that, because so many people out there who are feeling guided to make a change and to, forge their own path often get overwhelmed with the thought of making such a change. And they kind of think that they have to go from 0 to 60, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. We're all empowered to decide how we want our path to play out.
Yeah. And I think a side hustle approach is just very practical in the 21st century. And the reason we started with a side hustle is because we didn't want to take a huge dip in our lifestyle. We wanted to have a great lifestyle, have our jobs to pay the bills, put food on the table, but then really use our jobs as a launching pad to create wealth over time.
That makes complete sense. Every experience in our lives, I believe, serves a higher purpose and shapes who we are. Is there an experience in your life that you feel has been significant in shaping who you've become today?
Oh my goodness, so many. And that's a really great question. In undergrad, I studied women's studies and sociology, and really my whole life I was raised with feminist principles and viewpoints of the world. And I think just having that deeper belief that I could have autonomy and really be in control, get paid for what I was actually truly worth. Because a lot of times, and myself included, I thought for a while, hey, if I want to help people, it has to come at the cost of income and lifestyle, right? If I want to be a preschool teacher or if I want to work for a nonprofit, I have to sacrifice a ton in terms of my bigger goals and dreams and lifestyle. Or on the other side of the equation, the thought was if I want to be a business owner and make money, I have to take advantage of people, right? So I had this really skewed view of what entrepreneurship was. And so I was really excited when I found vehicles where I could actually make a really big impact, but also get paid for my true value and performance. And it was really that deeper feminist in me that got very excited to rise to that occasion and be able to actually go perform and help people and have fun in the process, but really be able to write my own paycheck. And the wage gap is not tightening. It's still pretty dramatic. And so I just get very excited to help other women in that regard too, because it's easy to feel like we can't necessarily have that control and make those choices within sometimes the corporate sector, right? So I'd say just my upbringing in that framework of thinking about women and women's empowerment has gone a very long way for me as a business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And, success means something different for each of us, right? So you've shared more detail around, what inspired you and what, shaped who you've become today. It's important I feel, for everyone to understand that there is no cookie cutter way, right, to achieving success. Success means something different for each of us. And I think part of what is really important in terms of making decisions about the path that we travel is also just looking at what brings us the most joy, right? And that could be the type of work that we're doing and also, the type of lifestyle that we want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And for us, we really focused on how can we leverage entrepreneurship to create a great life. So we were never overly money oriented, actually. It was more, how do we buy our time back? Because we're very time-centered people. And it's really, having been able to create that extra time in our life that's allowed us to start our first nonprofit in 2019 and really be able to pursue more of those passion projects and those things that intrinsically we feel very guided towards. So for me, it's just always, how do we create joy in whatever we do and really create that inner happiness? Because I feel if someone's not happy and joyful in the process, then we're really doing it wrong in so many ways.
That's so true. I completely agree with you. We're all meant to be happy, in everything that we do, and to experience that as a large part of our lives, and found, that whenever we aren't feeling in alignment or happy, it usually goes back to some type of belief that we have. right?
Mm-hmm.
About what is or isn't possible.
Yeah, and I think you really kind of segued into an interesting topic. I see a lot of people who on a deep level, like their deepest level, don't actually believe that they're worthy of success and happiness. And to your point, success in whatever their version or definition of that term, right? But I think people have to just take a really honest look at, like, what are my self-limiting beliefs and what is that deeper scripting that I have around generating real happiness in my life? And am I actually getting in my own way to create that?
What you said about reflecting on where those beliefs are coming from is really key. What happens even when someone is focused on their growth path, they can often look for a Band-Aid, to something that actually needs surgery. That's how I like to put it. But it's like, yeah, you can talk positive and affirmations can be tremendously effective. But unless you go back and actually look at where that belief pattern started, then the same pattern can continue to come up again and again.
And it's such hard work, Jennifer. It's not easy work. It takes time. Like you said, Band-Aid approaches are quick fixes, but to actually operate surgery on ourselves takes patience and takes willing to kind of cut through some hard emotions and some tough processing, but it's so worth it if people are up for that. And I was just doing a conference call with a bunch of women, and we were all just lamenting, like, it's hard to make changes. And that's why most people really don't make a lot of change. But if people are up for that deep inner work and really leveraging their emotions to learn more about themselves, because I think people really quickly judge themselves or feel guilt or shame around emotions, when emotions help us do such amazing detective work, right? And they really tell us what our boundaries are. They tell us what our deep, scripted beliefs are. And from that, we can really get a lot of intel on how we want to reprogram with time, right? And sensitivity.
Absolutely. Our emotions are an excellent GPS system.
Yes.
For sure. Absolutely. And what you said about change being hard, yes, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is. And it's a reason why so many people choose to stay what I like to refer to as, comfortably unhappy in their life, right? Like kind of just existing and not really living. And I feel that people stay stuck in that space because often they're looking at making decisions for their life based upon where they are now, but not where they want to be, right? Like not looking at the big picture in terms of, for this time, temporarily, it might feel hard, right? Going through this transformation, but then look what's going to be on the other side and how I'm going to be able to live the entire rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. It's an investment. It's really a true investment.
It really is. Carrie, what is your number one piece of advice that you would have for others who are at that crossroads right now, feeling called to create a new path?
Yeah, my best suggestion for people in general is really dig in deep to the long-term vision. Figure out what type of life I want to lead, what the source of my happiness, how do I want to anchor my happiness long-term, the impact I want to create. Really look further down the road. And this is what we did. So this is why we teach it, because it's worked really well for us and the people that we've coached. But then do a reverse engineering process on how do I actually create that life. And so much of creating success, again, in whatever definition you use, is actually an imagination process. It's a creative process of being able to visualize what that life looks like and then backtrack it out to figure out, okay, what are the steps to actually create that? And for us, we really tell people, like, focus on the who, not the what. A lot of people think the industry, the product, the job title. We went with the approach of figure out who has that lifestyle, who has that type of happiness, that type of relationship, that type of professional success, and go chase them down and really tap into their thought process, because that's all we've done is find people who had what we wanted. We worked really hard to get their investment into us in terms of like transferring that knowledge and that kind of stair step to how to create it. And that's what's been the key in so many ways to our incremental growth over the last 14 years as business owners. So that would be my suggestion. And if you can crystallize the vision, your vision is really your GPS system. And a lot of people are putting south in their GPS instead of a specific address. And so the more specific people can get, there's a way higher likelihood they're actually going to get there in an efficient matter of time.
Absolutely. Clear, establishing that clear vision is so key. This is a topic I could talk about for days. I believe and teach that, everything is energy, and whether you look at that from a spiritual standpoint or a scientific one, every idea that we have, every creation that we see in our external circumstance today started out as a thought. Started out as with someone establishing that clear vision. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. I can't say enough about the power of visualization.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And on the note of, just you had shared about in terms of advising others to look at other people that have the lifestyle that they want, right? Who have been a couple of your greatest like mentors or people that you've looked to for that lifestyle?
Yeah. So when I was in college, that's actually what started my entrepreneurial journey. Was I got connected to some business owners in the Chicago area. So that's actually who I actually connected with and really realized that they had the rewards and the lifestyle and the happiness that I wanted. They walked and talked very differently than anyone I'd ever met and just had a lot of lightness about them. And it was really like the lightness that attracted me because, again, I didn't really see anybody live with that spirit, that generosity, that happiness. And so, again, that was what I had identified with on a deeper level. And so I think, again, people have to really assess, like, what am I looking for? And then be in the pursuit, do some networking, leverage social media, leverage in-person networking, really dig deep on getting connected with people, because the more you're connected, the more you can find people that you're attracted to in terms of what they possess, right? And so my mentors, they've been helping us for 14 years. And what a powerful tip I can share with you is once we found them, we really turned down the noise on pretty much most other inputs, because it can create so much confusion once you find like a true mentor in your life to also be listening to hundreds, if not thousands of other, podcasts and inputs and other things. So we really were blinders on in so many ways. And that's not everybody's approach, and that's totally fair. But we were just very deliberate because we did want to create our results and lifestyle in a more efficient and an effective way. So it was just what's the clearest path to get there? And it was really dialing into their thought process.
I've experienced something similar to what you said. I found that there's a lot more value in focusing on following or working with one mentor versus kind of trying to follow all of the information that's out there. I find that it just really causes confusion.
Yeah, it's like a full-time job if you're trying to patchwork different inputs and knowledge and content. So for us, we just said, hey, let's streamline this all and truly just find people who have what we want really across the board and whose values and principles really align with us. That was very important. So we really live very value-based in as many areas as humanly possible. And so if you connect with someone on that level, I think you can do a lot of really great things in terms of a partnership.
Absolutely. Carrie, if someone is interested in connecting with you and learning more about what you're up to, where is the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great medium. We've been very active. My husband, Craig Klickner, and I were both very active on LinkedIn. So I would say if people want to connect with us on there, and we're always open to direct messaging and whether we can formally help someone or more informally, our goal is really just how do we be the biggest blessing that we can be to people and help guide people in the right direction to the best of our ability.
Carrie, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom today. You are very generous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful discussion and always lovely to talk to you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Awake and On Purpose podcast. Please visit us and subscribe to the podcast at awakeandonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can connect with your higher purpose and take that leap of faith to make your impact in the world, visit us at jenniferspor.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.